Cleveland Media Pickleball Tournament. Is that correct? Now I heard the championship comes with an asterisk because I heard Mary Kay was like Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship game. I heard that team would have won. Is that correct? Do I have that right? I have that right. Okay.
I don't believe that.
All right, so year 2 at the Greenbrier. We're excited. We're really excited to be back here. We had a great experience last summer. The staff here is great. It's a fantastic location for us to come together as a team and really just focus on us and set the foundation for the upcoming football season. As we go into training camp and as we go into, deeper into the summer, we're really excited about the group of players, coaches, and staff that we've put together this season. And we're looking forward to the next, 5 or 6 weeks as we get prepared for, Dallas on September 8th. We've got a long way to go, a lot of work to do, but kind of. I'll open up for any questions you guys have.
Andrew, you were able to kind of resolve the contract situation with Amari. Make sure he's here for camp. He spoke about wanting to stay in Cleveland past this season. I was curious if extension talks were kind of part of those conversations, or do you kind of want to wait and see how 24
Yeah, Daniel, I obviously have the policy. I don't talk about contracts. I don't talk about discussions that we've had with individual players. I think everybody here understands what Amari has meant to this organization and our affinity for him. He's an excellent player, outstanding human being. He's a really good professional. And one of the things that's interesting with Amari, assuming normal health, he has a chance to get to 10,000 yards this year. And he's probably about a year and a half away from having his, if you look over the course of his career, spend a big part of our success last year, and we were glad we were able to resolve the situation coming into camp. Yeah, so Tony, nothing that we've done would preclude us from, extending him. That's correct.
How about Deshaun? How do you think Deshaun has worked so far this camp, and what is the outlook over the next few weeks?
Yeah, Mary Kay, we've been very pleased with Deshaun. I think you've all seen that he's really worked his tail off in terms of his shoulder rehab over really like the past year. Had a really strong spring. He's done a really nice job here early in camp, so we feel like he's in a great place both physically and mentally, and look forward to a big year.
And back to contract stuff real quick. Not about any specific player, but my memory serves me correctly. Last year in camp, he did multiple restructures. Is that something that you're going to be looking to do in this particular part of the calendar?
He still has a little ways to go, but we're really happy to see where he is as we enter camp, and look forward to him to continue to improve the health of the knee.
Is there any kind of time? Is there any kind of timeline to when he might practice, or are you picking out a date in the season when you might expect to have him?
We'll deal with it day by day. Yeah.
And you guys should give a seminar on coping with injuries after last year. With the way it went, did that make you rethink? I mean, obviously, probably altered practices, what have you. Is there anything in terms of the roster to kind of build in protection in case the inevitable happens?
Yeah, it's a good question, Tom. I think the way we consider, attrition within the roster, it's twofold. It's one, the level of risk that you may have in a certain position group based on, look, every player that you sign or trade for or draft, they don't have the same level of injury risk. Some have maybe a more extended history. Some have been durable for their entire careers. So that's certainly something that we take into account when we build out a position group. And then the second piece of it is, it's why roster building is 365 days a year, because you can never have enough depth, and the groups we always joke, the groups that you go into the camp and you're like, oh man, we're really deep here, like we're going to either have to release a good player, we're going to have to work a trade. It seems like those are the groups that you get wiped out with, first, that type of thing. So we are very, cognizant of that you can't build enough depth into the roster, but we certainly will die trying.
Is Deshaun able to throw every single day now, or will there be games where he takes some days off, or how will you do that?
Yeah, so without going too specifically into his plan, there will be some level of cadence, but he's in a really good spot. The volume is he's got more than enough volume to do what we need to do.
Do you feel you need to increase your cap space to conduct business this season?
No.
Going back to Deshaun, I mean, it seems like a lot of the passes so far early are relatively short. Not. Is that part of the plan?
It's not. It just. I mean, I might disagree with that assertion, to be honest, Chris. I think, certain throws in the NFL that require a lot of arm strength, they're not always vertical and down the field. I think perhaps what maybe you've seen in the limited amount of 7-on-7 or teamwork we've done just happens to be that's where the progression took him.
Andrew, you and Kevin getting the extensions in June, just knowing you're going to be here together and the stability you brought here over these last handful of years, can you just talk about that?
Yeah, it's first and foremost, it's a huge blessing. I don't think either of us take it lightly. We very much realize that we are in a fortunate position. We have really good ownership who are really good people. We have an organization where we love working with the people on a daily basis. I have like the easiest head coach to get along with in like the entire NFL. And oh, by the way, he happens to be a two-time coach of the year. So it's a really great situation. And we're looking forward to pushing the organization and pushing the team because we certainly haven't met our long-term goals yet.
Andrew, you don't care about Cooper, so dialogue will continue with his agent?
I wouldn't get into any of those specifics, Tony.
Andrew, you were in the front office when this franchise was at its lowest point, and now you're in charge of the football operations where you feel like you're a perennial playoff contender and you're trying to climb the mountain of getting to a Super Bowl. Just where is your level of expectation or goals for this team this year?
So number one, just mentioning I guess really 8 years ago when I had my first by saying that. In terms of expectation, like I really have two expectations going into every profession. One of the things I was probably most proud of the team last year that we had a bunch of different curveballs, and I felt like our players, our coaches, our staff. Sometimes our greatest traits also become like our biggest negatives, and his aggression at times would have him overcommit, and we'd make 2 plays, give 1 up, make a play, give 2 up, things like that. And I think that is something that's decreased over the past 3 years, and hopefully will continue to decrease as we go into year 4.
You don't have an extension announced, do you?
No, you'll be the first to know, Scott.
Does the quarterback situation from last year encourage you to keep three this year? Or?
No, I'd say more generally, like I prefer Tony. Like I prefer to keep three most years. Now I'm not just going to keep three to keep three, and there are, certain situations like the opportunity with Josh last year at the cut down. We felt like that was good for good for the team. But generally speaking, like we do believe in keeping three as long as we have three that we think are worth the 53.
Isn't it easier to bring up practice squad for an emergency situation this year?
Yeah, it is, but I guess if you think about it, Tony, like you're generally going to have a better quality player if they're on if they make it to your practice squad, like generally that's probably going to be a lesser quality than someone that you feel compelled to keep. So we'd like to be in a position where we can keep three every year.
Andrew, we've seen Mike Baseball everywhere on the field.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he has kind of ever-changing roles as a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what your interactions have been with him, maybe how it's maybe helped you on the personal side.
Yeah, Braves is awesome. He's awesome, and we are lucky because I think whether it's in the draft or free agency. So, we were certainly getting our money's worth with Mike, and we couldn't be more pleased to have him here with us.
Just to kind of piggyback off that, you mentioned you might be on borrowed time. This is a guy that I think most people consider one of the top coaches
Yeah.
in the league. So
Yeah.
just to have that opportunity
Yeah.
to bring him in, how exciting was that? How quick did you guys jump in?
It was pretty exciting because I remember when Kevin and I were talking about it, we were like, do you think he'd do this? Like, do you do you think he'd do this, or he's gonna maybe want to take the year off with his family? And so we kind of came in softly, tactfully, and it was from the very beginning, oh yeah, I'd love to do this. That'd be great. It's pretty cool because we had all we had known Mike from crossing Paresso Pass. Kevin was on a committee with him and everything, but to see him day to day, I mean, you would think he's a first-time NFL QC by how much he's sprinting up and down the field. So it's really, really awesome.
What type of energy does that bring to the guys then on the field to have them so involved and run around hands-on?
It's great. It's very competitive energy because Mike's a little bit of a trash talker sometimes, and he's a very active coach. So the guys love having him around.
Andrew, with the changes to the offensive staff this offseason, OC and really all of them, what excites you just about what they can bring to this one you've seen early on?
Yeah, I think there are two things that excite me most, Kelsey, about the offensive staff. I think first, they've come from a variety of different backgrounds. Most of them have not crossed paths in terms of working together, and to see how they've come together as a staff, as a working group, that's been really cool to see. And then the second part is just the diversity of thought that's within that room because they come from such different backgrounds. It's been pretty cool to see how that's how that's come together with building out the offensive scheme.
Andrew, how optimistic are you about Jeff Wills being able to get back out the practice field anytime soon?
Yeah, we feel like he's progressing appropriately. We feel like I'd say Jed, among many of our guys who aren't necessarily all the way back, they're progressing appropriately, and they will hit the practice field at an appropriate time. So, although we have maybe a higher quantity of players that aren't full practice than you would typically want, we also feel fortunate that we're not sitting here, knock on wood, on the first week of camp saying, hey, such and such we just lost because for a season-ending injury or something along those lines. Oops, I'm sorry.
Would you include Conklin in that? You expect him to get practice field at some point?
Yeah, I think all of our guys are progressing appropriately.
Following up on Kelsey's question about the offense, where do you think we'll see maybe the most significant changes from here, given the 10 influence and the rest of the positions?
I think that's probably a better question for Ken and Kevin. And probably secondly, I'd say we're only a few short weeks away from the preseason game, so.
Andrew, with Martin, I mean, when he was coming out in the draft, it just seemed like a lot of people didn't really know what to make of him. You guys obviously saw something, get him in the third round. Has he even exceeded what you thought you might do with him?
Honestly, we had pretty high expectations for Markham, especially knowing where we were going to transition to defensively. So we're really proud of him. He is a diligent worker. He's really smart. He loves football, and it's actually been pretty cool to see him going from like young player to more like kind of veteran leader within within the defense. We feel good that he's going to have another big season, and he's just done a great job for us.
How realistic is it for both Greg and Dalvin coming off of their surgeries to be available to go?
Yeah, no, I think it's entirely realistic. Like whether that happens in the next couple weeks, like we'll see and work through that. One thing that we've learned about injuries is that you can never fully
When you drafted him to now, how has he changed?
Yeah, I think people forget David was 20 years old when we drafted him, and if you think about, I don't know, maybe all of you guys were very, very mature 20-year-olds. I was. Almost what I was talking about with earlier. Like we all grow and mature, and so I have